All right, let's talk LAFC. Hot start, late wobble, first year as a head coach in MLS. How did that test you?
Yeah, I think it was the good start was maybe stretched into 3/4 of the season. I think we had a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, where we made some roster changes and had some getting used to each other once again. And anytime you make changes, priorities change, responsibilities change, clicks change. It took us 2 weeks to get through that, but we came out, I think, a better team in the end.
Is it just down to the chemistry? Because I believe towards the end of the season, you guys had lost 5 of 9. Is it just the chemistry, just getting used to each other, just getting accustomed and holding each other accountable type of thing?
No, I think if you go back and look at each individual loss, you'll see there are reasons why you lose games. There were some unlucky. There were some, in my opinion, that's my prerogative as a coach, poor officiating or decisions that didn't go our way. But I don't think it has to do much with chemistry. I think maybe 1 or 2 games for sure. We rotated a lot as well that stage of the season. But I think if you look at the entire season as one, and our objective was to win the Supporters' Shield, that worked out okay.
If I'm a player in any roster and things are going well and we start bringing other players in and there's a shakeup, I'm asking myself, why the shakeup? I mean, Gareth Bale, huge name. Bale Chiellini, huge name. Teo, these players, but why the need for a shakeup?
Well, we're always striving to be better and looking towards next season as well. And there are opportunities on the transfer market that come about, and you either do it or you don't. Right. And in order to do certain things, you have to make changes. And so we all felt very positive about those opportunities at LAFC, what that brings us not only this season, but also next season. And we decided to do it.
You guys are a very good team at home, Steve. Talk to me about hosting MLS Cup and what that means.
There's a few more activities this week, but we love playing at the bank. Our fans will be there in full force. And I am so happy we can give something back to them because they have been amazing over the past 5 years, and to give them this final means everything.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but do you like the current playoff format? Because there's talk about changing the format, a World Cup style, groups, maybe not just this home field advantage, one game. Do you like the current setup? What are your thoughts on the potential being discussed of changing things up?
I'd be always open to change, for sure, but it's the only format I do know. And so whether I like it or I don't like it, I don't really have anything to base my opinion off of. We accepted the challenge. I think if you see the regular season as one competition, postseason as a completely different competition, then you can be successful.
Why is that so difficult? To see just one competition and then jump into
very
the other?
Much like a World Cup. It's 3 weeks you need to be on form or in form, and you need to be healthy. And if you are in one game not healthy, have a poor performance, your cup's over.
Well, you know more about that than me. You did 3 World Cups. All right, MLS Cup. Let's get back on MLS Cup. Does LAFC have to win MLS Cup for this season to be considered a success?
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
Well, I think we are Supporters' Shield champion. That is a title. Mm-hmm. I think we, in a year after not making the playoffs, have made great strides, played very good football, and are setting ourselves up also for next year and the year after. So would it be great to win Saturday? Absolutely. And I would love nothing more for LA and our fans, but I don't think it's fair because you don't win one game to say it wasn't a successful season.
Let's talk about the opponent. Philly's a very good team, very well coached, plenty of dangerous players, but I want to focus on maybe somebody that's in the front office. Tanner Ernst, he insinuated that you guys cheated during the season to sign players like Gareth Bale, Chiellini. Just your overall impressions of that.
Well, I'm pretty sure the league took care of that and sanctioned him, and so there's really no need for me to comment on it. It's very clear, the rules are very clear that we're within the boundaries, and I'll leave that between Ernst and our GM and our owners.
Steve, really quickly, let's shift to CONCACAF Champions League. You're already going to the CONCACAF Champions League. This team has experience in the CONCACAF Champions League, made a final, lost to Tigres. Is that something circled for you?
Absolutely. Any competition we play and we want to win. And the Champions League competition is a very, very interesting one that I think we'll see what happens with our roster in the off season, but certainly it's on our minds already, and we want to play a very important role of.
All right, last question, World Cup. We're seeing a lot of players pick up injuries, this congested schedule. How do you think that's going to affect the World Cup, or maybe the mindset of the player going into the World Cup?
It will affect the World Cup. As I mentioned before, in order to have a successful tournament, you need to be healthy, you need to be in form. In order to do that, you have to play. And I think the EPL finishes up in a week, and then they're playing in a World Cup 10 days later, which can be scary for some, and for some head coaches who are taking their teams to Qatar. But if you can separate all of the factors and all of the music and just kind of put it aside, I think you'll still see some good performances and good teams.
Steve, congratulations on an amazing first season as the head coach, LAFC, and good luck.
Thank you.
As Herc mentions, first year with LAFC for Steve Cherundolo. Before this, just 30 games in USL with the Las Vegas Lights. That was all of his first team head coaching experience. There were definitely those who questioned this hire. Big club like LAFC. Herc, what do you think? Has Steve Cherundolo done enough in year one to prove he deserves this job?
Steve Cherundolo? Yes. This is one of those, sí, pero no. Like Steve Cherundolo? Yes. First year coach, wins the Supporter Shield, is in the MLS Cup final versus the second best team. Yes, you've done enough to merit a second
Don't lie,
opportunity.
you're surprised by this, right?
No.
You're surprised that he's had this much success. First year?
No, hold on. But no, if you're LAFC. When I asked him if they lose MLS Cup, is it a successful season? He said, yes, I don't agree. Because you're LAFC and you aspire to be the Premier League, Premier team, in this league, in Major League Soccer, this super club. You aspire to be the best. You also happen to be competing for Los Angeles against a team that for many years was the cream of the crop, not only in Los Angeles, but in Major League Soccer, who holds 5 titles. So if you want to aspire to all those things while in Los Angeles, and you have to remember, Los Angeles only likes a winner. They only remember the winners. Steve Cherundolo, has he done enough? Yes.
Yeah.
First year coach, yes. Has LAFC? No.
I'm with you in disagreeing with Steve Cherundolo on the fact that this season could be called a success without MLS Cup, right? Especially if you were to lose MLS Cup at home after being the Supporter Shield winners. I understand why he says what he says, but I disagree with it. He's definitely done enough, Herc, and I gotta say, I was one of those, if not like a hater, but a doubter. I thought Steve Cherundolo had a very thin resume for a big job like LAFC, especially considering the guy who had just left, Bob Bradley, who had a huge resume, right, when they brought him to launch that program. I'm looking at it here. 32 games with Las Vegas. He had lost 23. Like, there was no track record of success for him, and yet he showed up and certainly did enough in year one. I also agree with you here. I think the pressure here is squarely on the front office. It's on the owners. If you want to put a name to it, it's John Thorrington, right? Ooh. The people who went out, and even though this team was #1 in the Supporter Shield race, went out and got a Bale, a Chiellini, and maybe made a little bit of a mess that Cherundolo eventually had to sort out and rebalance, and clearly he's found that balance here, Herc, in the playoffs. They obviously wobbled after they brought those guys in, but if there's title or bust pressure, it doesn't belong to Cherundolo. It belongs to the front office, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You go out and you spend $10 million in salary in midseason acquisitions when you didn't have to. Listen, as a coach, you always want to get better. And what are you going to say if you have the possibility of bringing in a Gareth Bale? You bring in a Gareth Bale with the hopes that he could be much more than he has for you. That's a reality. Giorgio Chiellini, for the hopes that if you need him, because that was the case, he can be there and be productive for you, which was the case against Austin FC in the first 45, where he was a monster. But certainly I agree with you. It seems like Steve Cherundolo had to clean up that mess towards the end of the season and righten that ship. So who knows? If Gareth Bale is 100% fit and ready, Steve Cherundolo may have a massive choice ahead of him, because you've got a team that's flying on all cylinders and Opoku coming off the bench who's doing extremely well. What are you going to do?
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.